Justin. Welcome back to the Everyday Jeeper. We got Bear back in the shop again. This is a 2014 Polar Edition. Belongs to my buddy Nate. You guys saw his work on the oil pressure sensor a couple of weeks ago, and now we're going to be doing a little front end work. Nate's got a vibration between 35 and 45 miles an hour. We know that is partly due to his tires. They are cut pretty bad, and we think that's due to the alignment. However, we also know that the ball joints are worn. 94,000 miles, not a terrible surprise. He's currently on 33s, but I know he's got 35s in the mail on the way right now. So we want to go ahead and get some ball joints on there now, so he's safer on the road, and so he's ready for the 35s when they get here. So let's get this thing up in the air and get started. Alright guys, now that we got it in the air, first thing as always is get the tires off. Just like you guys saw me do on the Grand Cherokee, we're going to take it all the way down to the point of pulling the axle shafts off. Then we have to take the knuckles off and then get the ball joints out. Let's get to it. God, those are heavy for 33s. Alright guys, now I got you repositioned over here. This is very, very similar to the Grand Cherokee that we just did. The biggest difference is I'm not replacing any of the brake components. I'm actually going to pull this all off in one unit instead of taking the caliper off the bracket. We're just going to pull bracket, caliper, everything together. Get the caliper off, axle nut off. We got to get the bolts holding the unit bearing off. Get that out of the way. Then we'll get into actually taking the knuckle off the ball joints and the ball joints out of the seats. So first things first, it's going to be a 19 millimeter. We're going to get the bracket bolts. I know it's really hard to see from the angle I have, guys, but they're one down here and one right up here. There's one. There's two. Now, if it plays nicely, you guys just run one of the lug nuts down by hand to act as a stopper. That way when I go to pry this, the rotor doesn't come flying off as well. Now the caliper and bracket are off. Go ahead and take this rotor off. Again, all these brakes are in good shape, so we're not replacing any of it, so we gotta be gentle with them, everything. Alright guys, so just like the Grand Cherokee, 13 millimeter 12 point. Break all these loose. Alright, first hiccup of the day. Yeah, these things get stuck. Alright, so the first one there is fighting me. Go ahead and got some PV on it. Let it soak. Also some PV on the ABS sensor. They can stick in the unit bearing and make your life a pain. Alright guys, so we let it sit a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and try and actually hammer it with the impact versus pulling with the pry bar. A lot of times the hammering effect can break the bolts loose better with a higher probability of not breaking the bolt than a breaker bar will. Because a breaker bar with constant pressure, you're just waiting for something to give, and sometimes the metal fatigue will just happen right there. So, let's see what happens. Okay, so hit it with the impact, did not actually break it loose. However, after I had it on the impact for a few minutes, I came back with the breaker bar and it came loose. Hooray. Now, let's see if we get the other tube going and hopefully not have to go spend a lot of money on stupid bolts.
Hey.
No, it's only good if that's turning. Is it turning?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Thank you, baby Jesus.
huzzah! Now, if only we didn't have to do it on the other side too. All right. Ah, smooth as butter. The ABS sensor is a 5mm Allen.
If we break no bolts, I'll do a victory dance and you can embarrass me on YouTube.
Said if we break no bolts.
Yeah.
Okay. What about ABS sensors? How to break that?
Please no. Although those are cheaper, that's like $15.
They are cheaper. That is true.
And that one's brand new on that side.
Well, good. If I break it, do I have to pay for it? We're almost there. Okay, so probably I'm not talking much during this ABS sensor. It's a plastic cylinder that's inside the hub. Very, very, very weak. They don't seal very well, so they get a lot of debris, mud, dirt, whatever in there. And if you hit them just wrong, they snap off inside. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to replace the hub just because I broke off inside. But you are going to spend some time, some delicate time with the drill bit, getting all the debris out of there to then get a new sensor. So this one was recently replaced. There it comes. So I had high hopes, and luckily my hopes were not misplaced. Yep. Next is going to be the axle nut. I don't have the exact right size. I think it's a 35mm. I have the 1 7/16. It's close enough. It should be just fine. Big impact.
Would you like some air, sir?
I do. And now, the hub comes off. And as we learned with the Grand Cherokee, it doesn't always just come off. And my vote is it's not going to just come off. So we're going straight to the big puller. Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
It better be. It's a $130 puller. As I mentioned before, my big puller here, which is meant for 8 on 6.5, but I have it adapted down to 5 lug. I now have to explain the caveat. My buddy here. This is a very strong puller. If the hub is stuck in there, this will make something give up.
You're scaring me now.
But alright, so axle shaft.
That's nice and rusty. I like the smell of this rolling gear over there.
There is something wrong with you. Alright guys, from here you want to go ahead and get the ABS sensor the rest of the way out of your way. Don't forget to put this little bracket back on when you go to put everything back together. Okay, so from here you make a decision. Since I'm doing this one side at a time, I don't really need to pull the tie rod and drag link off the knuckle. This is more work. So I'm going to actually pull the nuts off the ball joints, take the knuckle off, and then the whole thing just kind of swing to the side and let it be there while we do the ball joints, and then just swing it back and put it in. So now we got to get cotter pins out. Alright, so guys, I'm using an 1 1/8 down here. It's a little loose. Didn't seem to have the right metric for it, so 1 1/16 was too small. 1 1/8 was a little too big. Definitely metric. But 27 was too small. 30 was too big. Alright, yeah. Yeah, so top one's definitely 22. You know what, just let it go. Let it go. Bye-bye.
Please don't push your face.
Oh.
Your fingers.
Oh, I will. Don't worry about that.
Oh, there it is. You just knocked a bunch of rocks loose, dude.
Alright. Now, time for ball joints.
Ooh. That's not somebody's top one.
So we went and grabbed a rental ball joint press set and some lunch. This is a standard power built set. You can rent these at AutoZone and Advance. I'm pretty sure you can purchase them on Amazon as well. If you can, we'll put a link in the video description below. But I wanted to use something that everybody can have access to. These Jeeps can be notoriously painful for setting up a ball joint press to where they don't interfere with anything. You can even see right now we're making a little bit of contact here on the spring tower. That's the best we can get it. We actually have the axle articulating down right now with a jack stand under the driver's side in order to actually get this to sit where we want. So we're going to go ahead and start pressing this one out and see what happens. So this set is a 22 millimeter. Now, unfortunately, with the height I have it at, it is a little difficult because my arm is extended. But I wanted you guys to be able to see what we're doing. The next point from here was where a lot of guys screw up. Because once they have this tight, they immediately go, oh, it's not going anywhere. They grab their impact and start hammering on it. It's not going to get you anywhere. These pullers, like most pullers, are actually designed to take a hammer hit right here at the top. It's actually flat. We're going to try it from the position I'm at. So let's give it a few whacks. Should be able to tighten it down a little bit more. It's going. Oh yeah, it's definitely going. Yep. It's on that side. All right. Are free. So guys, the two things you saw me do there, I'm trying not to talk while I was doing it because I'm probably gonna have the audio turned down so you guys don't, go deaf with hammerheads. One was actually tapping down on the plunger of the puller. That sends a shock through the puller and actually is shocking it in the direction you're trying to pull it. The other one was actually hitting the knuckle or hitting the seat down here, and that's just taking shock straight into here and breaking the friction of it. So this upper one at first glance you go, oh hey, it's not bad, it doesn't go anywhere. But it actually doesn't go anywhere. It is fully seized. There should be, with every bit of effort, there should be at least a little allowance of movement. They are supposed to move. They're just not supposed to move this well. So we definitely had two issues here. We had some worn and something that is entirely seized. All right, now I'm going to set up to pull the lower. Generally speaking, going to be a different configuration than the upper. All right, guys, so we're set up on the lower. Did this one by just actually pressing the screw straight on top of the ball joint when we're pressing out the bottom. And then just put a large receiver cup down here with the pass-through adapter so the stem of the ball joint can just fall straight down. Yeah.
It's burning. I should take it back.
Yeah. I'll wait till I actually break it. So a lot of people ask me, how far do you turn it before you hit it? Turn until you can't turn anymore. Then you hit it, and then you can turn it again. It's here. All right. I'm gonna start wheeling. All right, Thor. Never need smaller. Only bigger. Thor.
Whoa.
More leverage. Da-na-na-na. Ooh, there it goes. See? It just didn't like me anymore.
You hit it too much.
Yeah.
Hey. About to be.
Alright, so today we have a Synergy Heavy Duty Dana 30 Dana 44 ball joint set. I've used these quite a lot. I'm a fan, but then again, most aftermarket ball joints for these things work just fine. We got two nicely wrapped, got a couple stickers. Everybody loves some stickers. And instructions. So these are Synergy. We got them off Amazon for all four upper and lower. You're looking at about $200. We're gonna put a link in the description below if you're interested or you need a set for yourself. Instructions here are super great. You got 5 general notes. You can get these instructions online, refer to the factory starter's manual. You need a ball joint press, lubricate your ball joints at every oil change, 12-month warranty. So the most important thing it gives you is the torque specs. Torque specs being upper ball joint, nut 75 foot-pounds, bottom one 80 foot-pounds. So guys, these little guys, you can actually pick up on most of the tool trucks, Matco, Snap-on, whatever. They're a wire brush, just a skinny little wire brush that clips into a 1/4-inch collet. So, yep, quick clean, never hurts anything. When you're doing this the first time, the most important part at this point is to plan your order of attack. Okay? You know the bottom ball joint is just the top. The top has to go in from the bottom. I think this is the top. No, this is the bottom. Alright. So the bottom ball joint has to go in from the bottom. It has to go up. Top ball joint also has to go in from the bottom and go up. So you have to think about how you're going to put the adapters of the press on there and how you're going to get it in place. Generally speaking, I go the opposite order of what I installed. So the bottom's going to go in first, and then we're going to put the top. Alright guys, so we went ahead and took the nut off and the boot off as per the instructions. Don't damage it. Thing Nathan asked me was whether or not these come pre-greased or we have to grease them, and the answer is yes and yes. There is grease in them, but basically just enough to keep them moving while they sit in storage. Once they are installed, you want to fill them up. You know they're full when you see the boots filled. The other thing to consider too is the orientation of the Zerk fitting and which way you want it. So, you okay with them being towards the rear? The biggest thing when you're doing this is take your time. Please, dear God, don't rush it, because if you do and you make a mistake and it starts going in crooked, it's just a bigger nightmare. The biggest thing I'm watching, guys, is this lower cup to the ball joint. I want to make sure this thing stays straight. So I'm just setting the initial tension with the wrench right now. Again, taking my time, checking as I go, making sure this thing's going in straight. Alright guys, so once it's fully seated, which it is, I want to go ahead and just give it just another little bit. Snug it up good, just to make sure that it is fully in there. And then you can go ahead and back it off. Ball joint falls out, you got bigger problems. Alright guys, so if you see this one in your kit, this is what we're using it for here. So, it's really hard to tell. But if I hold that as flat as possible, you see this is not, this is angled down this way here. And if you look here in the upper C, where you need to put something to press, to allow that ball joint to actually come in, it's not flat. Okay, it actually curves down towards the back. So you want to put the high side of the curve, the highest point, which is sometimes marked. This one's marked, which is nice. It's got a little hint up there. I'm going to put that facing out, so that will take up the concave and give you a flatter surface to put the press on.
Which one down after we put this back in there, like this?
This is what you got to torque. Alright, so guys, as we read earlier, torquing these up, 80 foot-pounds for the lower, 75 for the upper. Lower is a 27 millimeter, upper is a 22 millimeter. When you're doing these, you want to go ahead and torque one, torque the other, and then come back and re-torque the first one. Because you can get a false reading just due to the weight of the knuckle. But particularly you need turning torque. So guys, whenever you're tightening anything with cotter pins, you want to set your torque, check for your cotter pin holes. My top lined up beautifully, no big deal. The lower one is just slightly off. You never want to back it up. You never want to loosen it to line up a cotter. You want to tighten it more to line up a cotter. Sweet. Alright guys, once you torqued, now it's time to grease. Before you get the rest of the stuff in the way, it's just easier. Again, you want to look for the boots themselves to fill, both upper and lower. You don't want to grease before you put the knuckle on, because then there's nothing to hold the boots on, and you can actually just pop them off with some giant tape. I generally just use generic marine grease on all my Jeeps. The reason why is A, it's relatively cheap compared to some of the other stuff, and B, it's water resistant. We spend a lot of time splashing through puddles. That makes me feel better. Okay, so we're just over on the bench grinder. Got our hub bolts all cleaned up. That way we don't have any extra resistance throwing them in. So we're all greased up, ready to go. Need an axle shaft, one axle shaft. So we talked about this before, guys. We don't want to drag the splines or the seal surface, the bearing surface, anywhere inside the tube as much as possible, because we don't want to pick up debris, and there's a lot of debris in this tube. Somebody likes to play in the sand.
I only did it once. Never again.
Almost forgot, because I do it every time. Back in place. Okay, so you're putting on a back plate. Make sure the opening is lined up with where the caliper goes. That's why there's an opening there. If you ever get confused as to which way it goes, make sure you can put your caliper on. Then you know. Alright, from here all we have left to put on is the rotor and the caliper. And zip tie, because I told you guys very, very specifically not to forget to put this bracket on. And I forgot to put this bracket on. And I don't have time to take it back apart again. We're going to go ahead and cut now, but we're going to get this on, we'll move to the other side and start time-lapsing for you. Alright guys, so as you can see, you got it all back together. You guys saw the time lapse. The process on the driver's side, exactly the same as the process on the passenger side. The only thing I didn't show on the initial reassembly, passenger side assembly, the one I showed you guys live, was the torque on the axle nut. I actually forgot about it until I did it on the other side. I went, oh, I gotta do that. It calls, it varies where you look. It calls for 100, 150. I usually go to the 150 side just because they're reused axle nuts. If you caught on the video, I don't know if you could, the way I do it is I actually take a screwdriver in the brake rotor up against the caliper, which stops it from rotating, and then you just work it easy day. So from here, we're going to get this thing on the road, give it a test drive, and I don't expect any issues other than the alignment issues we know we already have that need to get taken care of. With that being said, guys, if you like this video, hit that button, subscribe, consider sharing if you feel it. And, thanks for sticking with us, guys. Really appreciate you guys' support and moving forward with this process.